Hey, are you taking the June 7th, 2025 digital SAT? If so, you want to watch this video because I have 10 predictions of question types I know you're going to come across. My name is Kristina Simos of Ivy Lunch Test Prep, and for the last 15 years, I have been helping high schoolers all over the globe dramatically raise their SAT and ACT test scores and ultimately gain acceptance at the colleges of their dreams. So let's get to it. First, we're going to start with 5 different question types that I'm pretty sure you're going to see on the June 7th reading writing section of the digital SAT. So prediction number 1 is going to be a paired passage, so a text 1 and text 2, in which you are asked what the author of one of the texts thinks about an idea or a detail or a phrase mentioned in the other text. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so here we have one of these paired passages. And here's the thing. When you are doing the reading writing section questions, and we are doing the general reading comprehension questions that occur after sentence completions, okay? What you are going to do is read the question stem first. So first thing, read the question stem first. You see that this is a double text. You know this is one of the ones you're going to read the question stem first, and that is going to help you organize which author is where, talking about what text, okay? So the main thing with these that you are going to do is keep the two texts and the two author's opinions straight in your head. So this is an example. I'm going to let you do it yourself, and then I will have solutions to all of these if you wait to the end. So here it says, based on the text, how would Barenfeld and colleagues, that would be text 2, so this one, most likely respond to the, quote, conventional wisdom discussed in text 1? Okay, so we want to know what text 2 person thinks about something in text 1. This is helpful. So now you can go in and you can actually read text 1, figure out what's its main idea even saying. Now you're going to text 2. Now you're going to read that one. And your job is to see, how are these aligned? How are they different? Does one pontificate more on something the other one said? Are they disagreeing? Do they agree, but in different ways? So that is your job. There is something similar about both, and there will be something different about both. Otherwise, it could not be a paired text passage. So after you do that, you're then going to go to the part that it says, which is conventional wisdom, and we will find this there, and they literally underline it for us. It's this part right here, the underlined part, conventional wisdom. And then you'll reread the sentence that has that, and you'll be like, oh, but I know what this dude was thinking over here. What would that person say? Yeah, but blah, blah, blah. Or, oh yeah, I agree with that because. Come up with it in your own head first. Then you are going to look at answer choices. Okay. Thing with answer choices for all questions in the reading writing section. Okay. If you see one part of it that is wrong, the entire answer choice gets crossed out. Got it? Oftentimes you are left with the one that is not necessarily, quote, right, but it's best. So have fun. You can pause this video, do this one at your own leisure. And I told you I would give you all of the answers at the end. Now let's go to June 7th SAT prediction number 2, also in the reading writing section. And what this is going to be is you will see claims questions that specifically ask you to undermine or weaken an opinion, a hypothesis, a claim that an author or someone in the text believes or is saying. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, so here we have a claims question. That's what I call them. Some people call them evidence questions, but it's like a block of questions. They occur after the traditional reading comprehension questions, and they ask you to use data from the text, use data from an actual chart or graph to either strengthen a claim, weaken a claim, or complete or finish an example. Okay, so what you're going to do for these, right? You're also going to read your question stem first so you understand which one it's asking you to do. After that, the next step in this process is you are going to actually read the text. Now, you have a goal while you're reading this text. And that is figuring out, well, what is the claim? What is the thing the scientist or the student or whomever is trying to prove, right? That thing, that claim, that's what your focus is while you're reading. So once you've read and you've done that, now you'll go back and you'll be like, oh, okay, what am I doing? Oh, I'm which finding of true would most directly undermine the person's hypothesis. Got it. I'm looking for something to invalidate, poke holes in the logic of, or offer like a counterexample, like something that would mess up, if this were a court case, our nice, neat little brief or argument. Okay. So that is your task. And that is the order in which you would do these. So now that you've done that, we know what we're doing. You can pause. You can actually like read this, figure out the claim, go back and try to answer it. And here are your answers. And remember, I will have the answers for you at the end of this video. Okay, so the third prediction of a question type I know you're going to see on the June 7th SAT is what I call a logically completes question. Okay, these come after the claims questions, and you usually might only get one, maybe two of them. Sometimes in a module, you might get none of them, and that's okay. That probably means you get two of them in the next module. But here is basically what they're asking. Okay, so it's kind of like the claims questions where it asks you to illustrate an example a little bit. And the main thing is you are going to read the text and figure out what this main premise, this main cause and effect even is. And then the next step to this is you'd be like, oh, okay, so if that's like the thing that I'm trying to like show, like if you could even come up with a simple real life example for yourself before even looking at the answer choices, just to kind of make it real, like what the logic is, that is so helpful before actually looking at the answer choices. So let me show you an example of one of these, and so then you can try it yourself. Okay, so here is an example of a logically completes. And you'll, like they always have the same question stem. It's which choice most logically completes the text. So then you go over here, you start reading the text. Probably before you get to the last sentence, you will know what the basic cause and effect is, or kind of what the claim is, or what the thing they're trying to show even is. And then for that last sentence, that's the thing where you're going to complete it. So it's like they start the example, and then what in your own words would you do to complete the example, even if it's super, super simple, right? And then I would get clear on that first before you start going over here to these answer choices and crossing out things that have something definitively wrong with them. So again, pause this, try it out yourself, and I will give you answers at the end of the video. Okay, so the fourth prediction I have for the June 7th digital SAT is a standard English convention question, aka grammar question, specifically that deals with your knowledge of apostrophes, right? So a quick recap. And if you want, more detail on any of this, I do have an online course, the Ultimate Digital SAT Reading and Writing Guide. So there's that. You can find it on my website. It's totally easy peasy, self-paced video course with a book attached, right? But quick recap of apostrophes. So we have two reasons we need apostrophes. One is to show possessiveness, possession, like one noun owns another noun. The other is when we have a contraction. So like instead of saying cannot, I say can't. So C-A-N apostrophe T. I took some letters out. The apostrophe takes the place of those missing letters, and I put things together. Okay, so oftentimes when we are doing the first one of those, possession, the big question is, well, is the thing even possessive, or is it just like plural? Right? So here's how you're going to tell. Well, first of all, you'll tell because in the answer choices, you'll see like, oh, I see apostrophes. Apostrophes, if you don't know, those are like commas, but in the sky. Okay. When you have two nouns next to each other, right? Usually, not always, usually the first one possesses or owns the second. Okay. And the way you would tell is if you could rearrange those and use the words like of, and it makes sense. So if I said the dog's bone, it's like, well, dogs, that could be possessive. It could be maybe plural. It's a noun. Bone, also a noun. Two nouns next to each other. Suspicious, right? So could I swap these and say the bone of the dog? Yes, I can. That makes sense. So in that case, this is a case where I want it to be possessive. The dog has ownership over the bone. I need this one, the word dog, to have an apostrophe in it. So if it's one dog, right, then I basically have DOG and then the apostrophe S and then that dog's bone. Got it? So how we use apostrophes and the rule behind it, again, this is touching on the surface, but once you know that in fact you need to have one thing that owns the next, right? And we need to have the first one be possessive and use an apostrophe. Then we have a fork in the road, right? Is it a singular noun that owns or possesses the second? Or is it a plural noun that owns or possesses the second noun? Okay. If it is a singular noun, it does not matter how the word ends. The word could have an S at the end. It could not have an S at the end. Doesn't matter. You will take that singular noun, add apostrophe S. So dog's bone, DOG apostrophe S, fine. The boss's pen. One boss has a pen, BOSS apostrophe S. Doesn't matter. It already ended with an S. It's singular. You add apostrophe S. The boss's pen. Now, if it's a plural noun that owns something, okay, then here's the rule there. You take a look at that plural noun. Does the plural noun already end in S? Cats. 5 cats. Yes, the word cats, plural, already has an S. So the 5 cats owner, you just add apostrophe at the end. So CATS apostrophe. If, on the other hand, the plural noun does not have an S, children, plural for child, right? But there's no S there. Then what you will do is then you will take that plural noun and you will add apostrophe S. So the first thing is it possessive or is it merely plural? Second, if it is possessive, is the noun that is doing the owning, is it singular or is it plural? Got it? So let me show you a question so you can try it yourself. Okay, so again, all the standard English convention questions, they literally have the same question stem. Which choice completes the text so that it conforms to the conventions of standard English? So go ahead, you can pause this, read this, and look, screws, threads, 2 nouns next to each other, you do the test and you figure out which one of these are. And then at the end of this video, I will give you all of the answers. Okay, the final prediction I have for the reading writing section of the digital SAT for this June 7th test coming up is going to be a research note question. And so here are the basics of a research note question. First, they're at the end of the module. They're the ones with the bullet points. I'll show you in a second when you get to try it out yourself. The second thing about them is they're going to ask you something very, very specific, like specific to that question. So what you are going to do, read the question stem first, and then you are going to start looking at the notes or the bullet points from the text itself. Now, here's what's important. Your answer needs to do 3 things. It needs to be true according to the bullet points you were given. It needs to be relevant to what they were asking, and then it needs to address all parts of what they were asking. So if they ask how something is a contrast between, you want to show both things and how they in fact are different, not just about one of them, right? So it needs to be relevant to the topic. It needs to actually answer the full question that they asked and not something else. And then it has to be true according to the bullet points. So let me share one so you can try it out. Okay, so this is always the same. It always says, while researching a topic, a student has taken the following notes. And this is our question stem, which we always need to read first because it's going to be very specific for each question. They're going to ask you something totally different every single time. So in this one, which choice most effectively uses information from the given sentences to emphasize the relative sizes of the 2 capital populations? And then we have a bunch of facts that you can spend some time and pause this video and read. And then after you do that, you are going to answer the question. And remember, if it wasn't true according to the bullet point, it's out. If it doesn't talk about the capital's populations, it's out. If it's not emphasizing the relative sizes, right, then it's out. So I will let you do that. And then the answers will be at the end of the video, and meet me back here, and then we will do math. Okay, awesome. So how were those 5 questions so far that you did for the reading writing section? Are you feeling a little bit more confident with like the order or how you go about them? Make sure to study them, because I'm pretty darn sure you're going to see all 5, if not sometimes maybe more than one of those types, okay? Before we move on to math, I have a question for you, and that is this your first time taking the digital SAT for real? If it is, just like tell me in the comments below. If it's not, let me know like which test attempt is this? Is this your second? Is this your third? I really want to know. And while you're at it, just go ahead and like this video and also subscribe to my channel. And then that way, every week when I drop the latest in digital SAT prep, ACT prep, or college application essay prep, you'll be the first to know. Okay, now on to my digital SAT math predictions for the June 7th, 2025 test. Are you ready? So the first prediction I have is I bet you are going to see at least one similar triangle problem. Okay, so similar shapes in general, right, mean that they are the same shape, possibly different sizes. Now, what does that mean? Okay, so the same shape part means that the angles within each shape are going to be the same. But it could be that one of them is much bigger or larger than the other. So what does this mean mathematically for you? 2 things. One is when they name the shapes, right, you are going to make sure that you keep the vertices in order. Okay, so if they say like triangle ABC is similar to triangle DEF, that means that very first letter in ABC, the A, that angle will be the same as the very first letter in triangle DEF, or the D. So we keep those the same, right? And that also means that side AB would be proportional to its corresponding side in the other. In this case, and for triangle DEF, that would be DE. So the corresponding angles for any similar shape will be the same. The corresponding sides will be in proportion. Literally, you make a proportion, okay? So let me show you an example so you can try it out yourself. Okay, so here we go. In triangle X, so triangle XYZ is similar to triangle RST, such that X, Y, and Z correspond to R, S, and T respectively. That was nice of them to tell us that. They didn't need to. The measure of angle Z is 20 degrees, and 2XY equals RS. What is the measure of angle T? So pause this, try it out, make sure you draw it out, make sure you mark the corresponding sides and any corresponding angles, okay? And then answers will be at the end of the video. Okay, now on for my second prediction for the June 7th digital SAT, and it is another math one. And what I think you will probably see will be a linear equation problem, like maybe even a system of linear equations. I mean, you always have those, so that's not like a big surprise. But I think specifically you will need to understand what it means when 2 lines happen to be perpendicular. Like, what does it mean to the equations of those lines? Okay, so there's a very simple math fact that you happen to need to know in order to do this, okay? When you have 2 different linear equations, 2 different lines, they are perpendicular, meaning they form 90-degree angles when their slopes are negative reciprocals of each other. So what does that mean? The sign will be different for each, and one of them will, if it's a fraction, it'll be flipped. So a reciprocal means 1 divided by the thing. The reciprocal of 7 would now be 1/7. If it's already a fraction, like 2/3, a reciprocal would flip it, so 3/2. The negative part would be, now that I flipped it, I change the sign. If it was negative before, now it's positive. If it was positive before, now it's negative. If you are looking at the equations and you don't know what the slope is, what you are probably going to need to do is first solve for y in the equation. If you solve for y and have everything else be on the other side of the equal sign, you'll now be in slope-intercept form. The number before the x would be your slope. The random +2, -7, whatever it is at the end would be your y-intercept. So we're dealing with slopes when we're dealing with two lines being perpendicular, okay? Now, the one thing that is different that might be a little counterintuitive is if one line has a slope of 0, right? Then that would mean it's a horizontal line. Perpendicular to that, well, 1 over that. If I do 1 over 0, I can't divide by 0, so it would be undefined. And that makes sense because it would need to be a vertical line to be perpendicular to a horizontal line. And a vertical line has an undefined slope. So let me give you a problem so you can try it out yourself. Okay, so here we have a sample problem. So line P is defined by 2y plus 18x equals 9. Line R is perpendicular to line P in the xy plane. What is the slope of line R? Cool. I don't even have two different equations. I just need to find out the slope. So it should be clear what we're doing here. You can pause, figure it out. I will tell you answers at the end of the video. Okay, so our 8th prediction of the day, the 3rd of the math predictions for the June 7th test, is going to be a scatter plot. I bet you will see a scatter plot, if not more than one, on the test. Now, what is a scatter plot? A scatter plot is a graph, right, in which you have a bunch of specific data points as dots, and then there is something called a line of best fit. Okay, so basically the actual dots themselves are real life things that happened that were measured, and they are plotted on a graph. And your job, or the line of best fit's job, is to figure out what this pattern is. Sometimes, usually, it's going to be a linear pattern. Sometimes it might be exponential. It might be a curve. It might be something else. But here's the thing to note, okay? If the test asks you about like a thing that actually happened, like what was the highest number of cups of coffee that someone drank out of the people who only got 4 hours of sleep, you are looking for the actual dot, right? But if they're asking you to predict something, right? Like, okay, that's different. You're not going by the dots. You're looking at the line of best fit, and that would be your prediction line. That would be okay, if I had to guess, that's a pretty good indicator. Again, every data point might be different. It might be far away from this line of best fit, but the line is where we predict. The data points are what actually happened. Okay, so I'm going to give you a sample question so you can try it out. And remember, answers are at the end of the video. Okay, so here we go. A scatter plot shows the relationship between two variables, x and y. A line of best fit is also shown. Which of the following equations best represents the line of best fit shown? Remember, they asked for the line, not the dots. Okay, so pause, answer the question. We'll come back and I'll give you answers at the end. Okay, awesome. So our 9th prediction for the June 7th SAT and the 4th of the math predictions is that I think you are going to see some type of inequality on this test. Now, maybe it's just solving an inequality, okay? Maybe it's a system of linear inequalities. So I will kind of tell you the basic broad strokes of how to do each, and then I will give you a question to try out yourself. So we have just a simple inequality. You are going to solve these the same as you would an equation. In other words, if you need to subtract 2 from both sides of an equation, you would subtract 2 from both sides of this inequality. If we need to divide by a number to solve the equation, we would divide by both sides of the inequality by that number. The only place where it is different is that if you need to multiply or divide by a negative, okay? I'm multiplying or dividing by -3. Cool. Whatever the symbol is, flips. Okay. If you're just adding or subtracting, you don't need to flip it. Now, let's say you have a compound inequality. So you've got some number 2 is less than 5x minus 7, which is less than 17, right? What do you mean? I have like not 2 sides. I've got like 3 sides, right? Because there's 2 different inequality symbols. You'll still solve it the same way. If we need to subtract something from the middle to get x by itself, guess what? I'm going to subtract it or add it to not just the middle, but the left side and the right side. If I need to divide by something to isolate the variable, guess what? I'm going to isolate, like I'm going to divide not just the middle part, I'm going to divide the left part and the right part. Okay. If I am multiplying or dividing by a negative, I don't just flip one of them, I flip both of them. Does that make sense? So that's how you do a single inequality. Now, if we have a system of inequalities, then here's what is up. You are going to, like, if it was like y is less than 2x plus 1 or something like that, well, that looks like a line, right? You're going to basically be like drawing out what this line looks like. Now, if it's a less than or a greater than, it's a dash line. If it's a less than equal to, a greater than equal to, it is a solid line, okay? And then if y is less than the line, then you're going to be shading below it. If y is greater than whatever the line is, you're going to be shading above it. If you have 2 of these, right, then you'll be shading for both. The place, like the solution to the system of inequalities would be like, okay, if I'm shading this entire part up here for this line, and then I've got this line and I need to shade this part, it would be the parts that got shaded both times. So in this case, it would be this part, like left, sorry, your mirror image me, but it would be right of this line above this line. So it would literally be like this part that's covering my face, if that makes sense. And you can also put it in Desmos and it can do it for you. Okay, so you have that at your disposal in the Blue Book app. Don't waste that opportunity. So let me give you an example so you can try it yourself. Okay, here we go. We have y is greater than 14, and then we have 4x plus y is less than 18. The point x comma 53 is a solution to the system of inequalities in the xy plane, which of the following could be the value of x. So first thing, if I have like y by itself on one side, I need to change up this one a little bit to make y by itself for this one. So that means I need the 4x to go bye-bye, go to the other side so that I can either put it in Desmos and graph it, or just by hand graph it on my scratch paper. So I will give you a second. You can pause this if you need. And remember, answers at the end. Okay, so my 10th prediction for the June 7th digital SAT and the last of the math predictions is going to be an exponential function that might be like compound interest. Okay, so what an exponential function is when the exponent is the variable. So it's not like x squared, it's like some number raised to the x power, okay? Percents might be involved. So get very clear on the difference between percent of, percent increase, decrease, and percent change, and how all of those are different in the way you write them in the equation. So let me give you an example so you can try this. And remember, answers at the end. Okay, here we go. For the function q, the value of q of x decreases by 45% for every increase in the value of x by 1. If q of 0 equals 14, which equation defines q? So a little small hint, you are going to use this nice little thing they told you, plug in 0 for your x, make that whole thing equal to 14. That is going to help you out to figure out either what you're starting with or the thing that is being raised to x. Because remember, an exponential equation would be like a times b to the x. So these will help you figure out what the a is and what the b is, okay? So I will give you a moment to try that, pause it, and then when we come back, we will do answers. Okay, did you try them all? So if you did, then here are the answers. So to the 5 different reading, writing questions. So the first one we did, answer choice A is the answer. The second one we did, answer choice C is the answer. The third one we did, answer choice B is the answer. The fourth one was answer choice C. The fifth one is also C. And now for the math prediction. So prediction 6 through 10. So the first math prediction was C. The second math prediction was also C. The third one was A. The fourth one was A. And then the exponential function one we just did was C. How'd you do? Okay, so if you found this helpful, like my steps of how to do the questions, I have another free resource for you that you might also find really helpful, okay? It is a free training called The 3 Biggest Mistakes to Avoid on the Digital SAT's Reading Writing section and how to fix them. So check it out in the link below and good luck on your test. Let me know how it goes.